Welcome back to my sanctuary in soil. My name is Aisha, and today we're gonna go over the first step of a first garden basics. This is gonna be a series of videos where I will be sharing the basic information that you need to have to be able to start your first garden. And the first step on our first garden basics is why. Why do you want to have a garden? And the reason it is so important for you to define that is because that reason, that why for you, is going to be deciding a lot of the decisions that you're going to make along all the following steps. And so before you even start, that's the first thing that we need to decide. Now, some of you may want to just start a garden to see if you can, because it seems like such a foreign thing for us, right? Now, I was doing some research on gardening, and I found out that really gardening was usually, or in the past, a thing that everybody did. I mean, we didn't have groceries, back 100 years ago or 150 years ago. And so everybody had their own backyard garden to supply their vegetables and food needs. And so back then, that's just the way things were. But now, because of the Industrial Revolution and all of the movement to the cities, little by little, the art of gardening, as I call it, has been disappearing from our everyday lives. Now, of course, we do have farmers that produce, mass produce a lot of our food, which is beautiful, and you can see it in the groceries. But however, some of them do it in methods that we may not, like once you learn about them. And so, I think that some of us just wanted to do gardening to see, if we even could do it. Now, some of you may have gotten or may want to get into gardening because you want to have that active meditation. I actually had not heard about that phrase, active meditation, until I started to share with a few friends of mine that I started the gardening. Well, first of all, once they got over the shock, they were telling me, what a great thing it was for me, because I'm usually a workaholic, being known to be a workaholic. And so when they found out that I was actually into gardening, they say, Aisha, that's a great way for you to take care of yourself and your mental health. And, it's a great way to have active meditation. And so I love it. And I definitely, it's definitely something that I do have when I'm doing in my gardening. Now, something else that I have found is that gardening is a great way to exercise, especially if you're going to be doing it in ground and digging in and actually getting very physical with it, especially at the beginning when you're doing your first garden. Trust me, it's going to be exercise, and as you're amending things, it gets you moving. And the great thing about it is that you are moving without realizing that you're exercising your body and and your muscles. And you feel it afterwards, but it's also a great way to exercise without overstating yourself, right? So that's another reason why, gardening is a great idea. For some of you, maybe you just like to have fresh herbs for your cooking, right? I'm normally not a great cook, but having the fresh herbs has been a surprising benefit. I didn't realize how different and wonderful it was to have, fresh basil versus the dry things, that you get in the store. So definitely a great benefit. And so maybe for some of you, you just want to have a little herb garden and have that available for your kitchen. For some of you is the fact that, when you go to the grocery store, you see the same foods over and over and over. And did you know that there are hundreds of types of tomatoes? Not only cherry tomatoes and big red tomatoes, but there are purple tomatoes and yellow tomatoes. And green. There's all kinds of tomatoes. And so maybe one of the reasons you want to garden is to be able to try, food that you don't find in the grocery store, that unless you grow it, you would never get to taste it. So that's a great reason for you to have a garden. Another reason is maybe you want to be able to start eating more organic, right? Like I mentioned earlier, because of the Industrial Revolution and the need for more and more food, the companies that produce our food are using methods that might not be the healthiest for us. And so we want to be healthier and go more into the organic method of growing food. And so, the best way to do it is for you to grow your own garden. Now, I know that when I harvest this cabbage here, this is going to be fully grown with absolutely no chemicals, right? And so for me, that's like, a great thing for me and my family. Another reason is maybe, you're tight on money. Maybe you want to be able to grow your own food so that you can replace some of the money that you spend in the groceries. That's another great reason. Now, obviously, if that is a reason, then how you choose what you're going to choose in the next steps is going to be very important, because we want to do it the most cost effective possible, right? Which it is possible. Not for me, I found out. I spend a lot of money on it. But it's not necessary, which is a fantastic thing. Now, some of you might be just for fun. You just want to be able to have a garden for fun, and if it goes well, great. If it doesn't, great. And you just want to see what it's like. I mean, I'm absolutely having fun doing it too. So that's a great reason for it. And ultimately, the reason why I got into it is because I mentioned how I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I've been in the corporate world, a high level of executive positions, and working very, very hard, for many, many years. And as I venture into a new adventure, the stress levels were going up. I was working harder and longer. And I realized that having a hobby, something that will get me out of the house and into the fresh air, it was something that was great. So I really, stumbled upon gardening, just by coincidence, or, things that happen. I guess it was the right time, right place. And here I am, with my garden. And so since I started, I doubled it, and this year I'm going to triple it in size. So you'll see the videos after this video series are done. I'm going to be sharing with you how I triple my garden size. Anyway, so I love it. It's becoming a passion of mine, and I know that I will continue to do it for as long as I have the ability and the strength to, because it gives me more than I put into it. And so I hope that, as you find your why, you write it down. I'm hoping that you have a notebook or something where you're making notes of all this information, and you start to think before we go to the next step, before you go to the next video. Think about what's the why. Why do you want to do that? Now, it could be that your why might change, afterwards, which is fine. It changed for me. At the beginning, it was because I wanted to have, a hobby that can give me that, that change of scenery and the active meditation I found out to alleviate the stress, of everyday life. But from it, I have gotten exercise, I have fresh air, herbs, I have organic food, I replace my meals, I have a lot of fun, so all of those things, right? But my initial reason was because I wanted to build my own sanctuary, which is why the name of this channel is Sanctuary in Soil. So I hope that once you have that strong why that gives you the inspiration and the motivation to keep going in the next steps, and hopefully by the time spring comes around, you'll have, and find in your garden all the things that you're looking for. All right? So having said that, this is it for this video. In the next video, we're going to go to step number 2 of the first garden basics, which is where to put your garden. See you in the next video.